Hello, 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 and welcome. I am Robyn.
And I am Gil, and you are with Rockin the Love today. How's it going, everybody?
We're so glad to have you here. Please make sure and just let us know you're here by typing something in the chat. Tell us where you're watching from, and we'd love to talk to you today as we explore the topic of decoding the divine. Decoding the divine. It sounds so mysterious, right?
Yeah, it sounds like we should be imparting some great knowledge. If
We do
one
that
can,
every week.
if one can decode the divine. Oh, okay, that's fair, I guess. Yeah,
That's right.
that's our job, our task every week. All right, how you
Yeah.
doing out there in Cali?
It's good. It's good. It's weird out here that it's like freezing in the morning and then, you're in your turtleneck and all bundled up and you walk outside and it's beating down sun and you're like, what happened? So right now I'm cold, but I'm prepared today that I can whip off this scarf and be a California girl in no time.
All right. Well, hello, John. We're happy to have you with us today, as we always are. Thank you for joining us. Um, yeah, in the last few days, the weather here has changed from, you just know it's going to be hot to it's kind of cool. It'll kind of be rainy. It'll be chilly. I mean, not chilly, but at night it drops into the 60s, low
And
60s.
when you say the weather here, where is it that you are?
Oh, oh, I am in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. Yes, coming to you from the Southwest Studios in Albuquerque. Albuquerque is a big production town now.
It is a big production town. I know that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff goes down here.
I know. I've looked at the website, so I get it.
Mm.
Because I'm a Hollywood girl, so I know what's going on where and when. But anyway, it's true. I know who's filming there right now, as a matter of fact.
Uh-oh.
However, that's not of interest to anyone but maybe me, probably.
Probably.
So let's talk about something else. Like, what did you do this week?
This week has been busy as usual. A lot of updates and new information has come in, which has been great. We have made major announcements in our family. And there's just been a lot going on. I even went and took in the Gran Turismo movie just for fun. So, little things like that. We had one of the biggest attendances that we've had since I've been at Rio Grande. That was kind of cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. I think I gave my most depressing sermon message ever on Sunday, but
I might agree with that.
Although I had a couple people tell me I did pull it out, so I was experiencing that thing in the middle where you go, wow, this is kind of interesting.
Okay.
But you go with what's coming, what's coming through. So that's what I did. How about you?
Busy week. It's just busy for the next 3 months. Just color me busy. That's it.
Okay.
I'm doing way too many things in way too many places, and hopefully I'll have way too much fun.
All right.
I know that's what I'm claiming for myself, because otherwise I'm going to pass out because I'm tired. But I'm good.
Well, you and I both had the chance last night to be with our Sacred Circle from Agape, which was kind of fun.
We did.
And refreshing, and an opportunity to just hang out with people that, love us anyway.
Right. So excuse me while I tutor my husband a little bit on the joys of Hollywood. You can't say things on the radio or on YouTube or anywhere that we are and not explain it to people. So you've already said we made big announcements in our family, and then you left them hanging. And now you say we were with our Sacred Circle, and that was good. but people don't know what those things are. So you've got to give them a little bit more. So just for your information, our Sacred Circle is a group of practitioners um, from Agape in Southern California and Northern California. And what we do is we get in a circle every other month, and we just talk about being a practitioner in the world and what are the challenges that are up for us. Because a lot of people think that practitioners have it all together and they've got, all the keys to everything, which is true. However, sometimes we forget. And so we hold each other and we support each other in the knowingness and in moving through things that, are challenging to us. So that's what our sacred circle is.
Okay.
And our big news is big news, but it's kind of it's kind of an open-ended letdown because the big news is we're moving from Northern California. The question is, where?
Well,
The answer is, I don't know.
well, we can say that the family is
Yep.
relocating to San Diego,
Yes.
and the question is just how in how yes, how is your life going to look around the family and the me sections of life between Albuquerque and Southern California?
Yeah. Balancing the family and the husband. That's what it is.
You should see her doing that balancing act with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not. Anyway, okay. So that's our week. That's my week. That's your week. I think it's time to get to some good news because who doesn't need good news? We get enough bad in the world going on. It's time to find out what's happening out there that's good. So, what do you got?
Well, I've got a story that's a little bit about how the good often comes with something else. And so, we've all been excited about alternative forms of energy and how we can, have solar and wind, etc. And wind energy comes with these giant turbines, which I discovered the blades last 20 to 30 years, depending on how they've been built and which ones, and they have to be replaced and are often made from fiberglass. And there is no way to recycle them. They end up in landfills.
Wow.
Yeah, tons and tons of this stuff. And over the next few years, of course, because we've started when at a point quite a few years back, we're expected to have a lot of change out of these turbines. So, and that will continue. So anyway, there's a group in Ireland, I believe, got together and with several folks, and their whole thing was, what can we do with this stuff? And they came up. One of the things they came up with is that they could create a footbridge out of two of these, and the footbridge could hold 30 tons, meaning that it's totally safe and secure. Um, and they've actually installed a couple of these, and there's one in process in Atlanta, Georgia, to be used there. And so the thought is that this can be done that way. Another thing that's come out is that they're actually making outdoor furniture, and that's being used like in parks and stuff like that. And there's some of that that's been placed. So it's
Making it out of the.
out of the turbines, out of the blades, out of the
Wow.
giant fiberglass blades after they're used. So, they're coming up with uses which allow it to do it again, and
Wow.
instead of sending them to the landfill. So anyway, my point is just that sometimes we think that, wow, we came up with this great idea, and it is great, but now we've got another thing, and then sure enough, somebody comes up with another great idea. There you go.
Yeah. Very cool. Cool way to reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yep.
Yep.
What you got?
Okay. My good news comes from Australia, and it's a story of a man who actually I think he's like 78 years old, and he was recently diagnosed with dementia, and he's just starting to lose lose it a little bit. I mean, he's still going about his day-to-day business, but long story short, he had a bank account with nearly 500,000 Australian dollars in it, and he got scammed out of his money. And the good news is the bank actually decided that it should have prevented the dementia depositor from getting scammed. So they reimbursed his entire life savings.
Yeah, how often has that happened?
It doesn't. It's literally like unheard of. And his son, who's uh, like a pastor at a church, said in all of his years, and he has a huge Rolodex of people. It has never happened. Everyone says, "Oh my God, that never happens." But they realized, and part of it was because the man whose name is Alex had taken copious notes when he was on the phone with the scammers, and so he actually was able to give them some information and names that helped them. Like, the scammers told him to buy some Apple gift certificates at a certain place, and they also told him, they named some company called something called AnyDesk, and which they later learned is this program that allows scammers to remotely access your devices, and so from like as soon as he logged into that or whatever, then the scammers could compromise everything. And they started taking out 10K, 25K, and just lifting that out of his account. And so and because of the transactions too, the bank was able to see that there was some place where they literally should have seen and been able to detect that he was being scammed. So they reimbursed him the full whatever he had, 460,000. Blah 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 blah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Very cool. It's very
yeah, and it's corporate responsibility, which generally we think of as an oxymoron, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, and the bank encouraged people to, kids of their elder parents to really, take notice and to set up the financial responsibility and power of attorney and really make sure you're watching, because people get pulled into those kind of scams and things all the time. And even just those ones that say, click on if you might have money here, that kind of thing, and as you click, they grab your information. So I thought it was really heartwarming that the bank was like, okay, we got it,
Yeah. How
And I
cool.
want to welcome Wayne to the show. Hello, Wayne, up there in Canada. Thank you for joining us. And you have time to go and get something to drink and come right back so you don't miss the commercials, because they're good, as I determined last week. So we're going to be right back here right now in a minute after these words from New Thought Media Network. Don't look at me like
I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love. Here and now I can see I was made beautifully. I was made in the image. I was made in the image of love.
Wish we'd all stop acting like we're strangers if we could see underneath. We are one family, and it don't matter where you come from. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love, one love, one love.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Blessings, everybody. My name is Jafon Seeley. Could you imagine what is actually possible when we start honoring and recognizing our inherent worth, realizing that we are that which is assisting and co-creating our experience? And with that understanding, start recognizing that every human, every individual, everything that we interact with reflects that same inherent worth.
It's not about an adventure, it's about the atmosphere of the consciousness of adventure, the lifestyle of adventure. How many people would say that their lifestyle is adventurous?
My name is Lisa Benson. I'm a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant and the author of Anchored in Bias, Fired Over White Tears. It's a book detailing my lived experiences with workplace bias and what fueled my passion for normalizing conversations about differences and creating safe spaces for everyone to bring the best version of themselves to life every day.
Hello. We're back. This is Rockin the Love, and I am Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and we're happy to have you here with us today. Another wonderful, beautiful Wednesday.
Yes.
Hanging out. What are we talking about?
We're talking about decoding the divine.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's kind of sexy. Decoding the divine, right? No, it is. And the way that this came about is we were talking about decoding your partner. How do you interpret your partner? How do you understand your partner? And it became decoding the divine because we're always seeing the face of God in front of us, or we're always trying to remember that that's what we're seeing in front of us.
And in every relationship, there's what's said, what's done, and then there's sort of the what's behind that. And I think the big thing is what's always behind it is the divinity ultimately. right?
Right.
So we're decoding the divine always.
Right. So this is basically, I think, about partnership, but it's about any relationship really that you have, and how you move through that, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. Hey, Shay, good to have you. Yeah, so when we're decoding, quote, our partner, we are decoding the divine. When we're decoding someone who we work with, or someone we live with, or something, ultimately we're decoding the divine. And when we can decode the divine in them, we can see something new and positive and different than I think we would normally see. That's a thought I have. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that being in relationship can be challenging, right? I mean, let's not mess around. It can be hard, right? And I think that we each come into our relationships with different backgrounds and different histories, and we forget that because a lot of times in the relationship, whether it's a love relationship or whether it's even a work relationship, we have those commonalities that appear to make us the same. We appear to be on the same page, and yet something as simple as we may agree. If we're working in a restaurant, we may agree that the dishes need to be washed, but we may not agree on how to load the dishwasher. Just using that as an example, right? I mean, I mean, isn't it true? Like, I think loading the dishwasher is one of the most discussed topics for people. I mean, is there a right and wrong way to load the dishwasher? No, there's no manual that says this is the way it goes and this is the way it should be every time. However, those of us that grew up with the dishwasher, I did not, but those of us that do, that I live with, think it should be done one way. And then there's the others that grew up with the dishwasher and don't have any way at all and just throw the dishes in there. So, I mean, it just kind of depends where we're coming from. And it's kind of an analogy for everything, right? Like,
Well,
what are we bringing into the relationship?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I do have to differ with you on one thing.
Yes, let me guess. It's going to be about the dishwasher.
There, there is a manual that tells you how to do it. The difference is whether people read it or not. That's really what it is. But you get any new dishwasher, it'll tell you how to load it.
Yeah, but it doesn't tell like the specific things. Like, it doesn't say only put the small dishes here and only put the silverware here, and it may suggest that this goes there, and that the silverware should go up and not down, but or down and not up, whatever. But it's not like, you don't get a ticket if you do it the wrong way.
Well, here's the thing. Um, for me, when I think about this, I think about the idea of, we have ongoing time with different people, ongoing time in our relationships with a particular person, and everything is fine. And then all of a sudden, one day, something seems really out of sorts. And I think for me, one of my thoughts around this idea of decoding is when I can go, oh, that's something coming up. I think I recognize that from somewhere else.
Well, but that takes a long time to get there.
Well, yeah, yeah, that can be very time consuming in terms of getting to that point. But that's part of that decoding process, is when we know each other well enough to know when somebody really is out of sorts. They really are not acting their normal way. It's really not about whatever the situation is.
Right, but I think yes, I agree with you, and I think I mean, I think you can do it before then. I don't think you have to go take a deep dive into your past relationships and what you're carrying along with you and how you're viewing it through a different lens. I think that, as I looked at this topic and thought about it, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with love languages, and I'm
Mm.
not that familiar with love languages. Um, but and I really want to be. So if any of you are, let us know. We'll have you on the show, or if you know someone who is, because I really want to talk to somebody about it. But there's the 5 different love languages basically, and but what comes up is there's like there's 3 important factors that, like, how much how much energy, like, in the balance of partnership, how much energy do we derive from being around other people, because again, that's like where we start, with introvert, extrovert, and all of that, like, you know bringing that into alignment. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. That's a huge difference in people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge difference in people. And as I was reading a little bit about different things, like one guy was likening it to the way kids are built, and he said there's 3 top things, and one of them was that, like, extroversion, and then emotionality, which is, how we each deal with frustration or distress or fear. um, yeah,
And what
if
was
we're
the third one?
what.
What was the third one?
And the third one is effortful control,
Effortful control. Okay.
which refers to the ability to, like, regulate our emotions and our behavior. I mean, it could be self control, it could be impulse, impulsivity, any of those things. But um, yeah.
So, hey, Kevin, great to see you. Thank you. Decoding means there is a code. Everyone is divinely coded. Healthy relationships share our respective codes. Healthy relationship shares our respective codes. I think that's an interesting perspective, and I think that does say a lot about what we were thinking about, and that is that there is that divinity within each one of us, and whether or not it's coming out directly or not does not mean it's not there in the code. It's not underneath it. And part of our gift is that we get to be with someone and see beyond the first layer, beyond the facade. Does that make sense?
You asking me or Kevin?
I'm asking you right now because Kevin can't talk.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But I mean, so there's a practicality. I think what Kevin says, I mean, I think that's true. I think that we do all have a code, no matter how one we are.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, we are a unique emanation of the one, which means we have our own code, we have our own pattern, and that it's not going to necessarily mesh or sync up all the time with our partner.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, so yeah, so Kevin, you're typing perfectly. It's okay. My brain isn't going as fast as you're typing. Um, so yeah, so what do you do? What do you do in situations like that? Because that can, I mean, that can lead to big frustration, especially in, marital relationships, partnerships, relationships like that, and friendships, or work relationships. But I'm going to speak from partnership, since that's what we are. That there are times that it's extremely frustrating, that when we look at things differently, and part of that is because we're so similar on so many things,
Mm-hmm.
that when we hit, like, that pothole in the road, it's like, whoa, what happened? What's the
It's
matter?
jarring.
It's jarring.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I was thinking when you're talking about love languages and that kind of thing is, I think one of the ways we get to quote decode people, decode our relationships, decode others in them, is it is not, for some of us, always easy to translate between what is going to speak to someone else's love language versus what I think I should do, because that was what I would feel good to me. So that would be my love language, but I'm going to speak it. And and sometimes we have to decode and go, okay, I did not want a vacuum cleaner, but my husband was very thoughtful in a very weird way.
Well, but even beyond that, and hi, welcome, Dr. Cynthia. Good to see you out there.
Oh my gosh, hi.
Yeah, I think that yeah, it's a both and, because you're coming from your perspective right now, and your pain still over when you gave me a vacuum cleaner for Christmas, and it wasn't, and my sister, and it wasn't the most exciting gift. We were like, oh, yeah, great, thanks. Anyway, but that is part of a love language, and I'm going to generalize a little bit, but I mean, unless for me, unless I as a woman specifically ask for a household appliance, that's not my idea of a gift. I mean, we want something a little more thoughtful and romantic and whatever. But I mean, I think that's what's important about the love languages, because what I understand in love languages is that there's basically 5 ways to express love. And that's either like through words of affirmation, through quality time, through receiving gifts, through physical touch, and through acts of service. And I did take a little test on the internet last week. And, I think I was like 26% through acts, through like words and affirmation, and 23% of gift giving, kind of, or receiving gifts. And I'm not sure that it was an accurate count, because I was super annoyed with the questions, because it kept asking me like 20 million times about if I like to receive gifts. And I was like, for crying out loud, who doesn't like to receive gifts? Stop asking me. And I knew that their algorithm was just trying to determine if I was more gift or if I was more words of affirmation type. So I started getting pissed off and answering the way that I knew would get me the other answer. So, okay.
So a lesson in decoding your other.
Exactly. No, but I mean, I mean, I would think I'm pretty balanced on that. For me, words of affirmation, quality time. I mean, I think words of affirmation and like gift giving, I like them both. Mm-hmm. I do, and but to me, part of that is because the gift giving, it's not that it has to be a big gift or anything. It's that it's just part of a thoughtful process that means you're affirming who I am, kind of thing. You know what I mean? You're affirming that you're thinking about me, and this is what you see, or whatever. So, I mean, but if you don't balance out on those, then it's something that either needs to be learned in order to support each other. And just like, I'm sure, I would guess without looking that yours is, what do you think yours is?
That's interesting. I don't know. I should probably take the test.
I know. I was going to send you the test. I think, well, there's lots of people think a lot of things out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments, and we haven't been touching on them. So I just want to welcome Sherry Greer. We'd love to have you. Thank you. The 5 love language, okay, from our producer, Gary Chapman's book. Sherry says, I believe we have different love languages, but one usually means more than the others to us. In other words, we have one that stands out a bit more. There it is. Stands out more than others. There you go. Kevin said he agreed that once the layers are peeled, it reveals each person's divine coding. And yes, that's all part of it. And that's all part of what we're doing all the time, is trying to figure out how to peel back our own layers. that we can decode ourselves to some degree, and of course also be in relationship where others, where we're showing up in a way that others can see who we are.
Well, and Sherry said, uh, I agree, Robin. People usually give you their love language and not yours. And I think that's the whole crux of like the relationship thing. I mean, I think that's why relationships don't last at the end of the day, right? Because it's that blend and really figuring out how to balance each other out so that it's a win-win, right? Shay says, I think many people don't know how they want to be loved to even communicate what that is. One must know themselves to be able to ask and have the courage to ask. Definitely, Shay. And I think, I mean, that's almost a whole different topic. Producer Michael, please write down the courage to ask, because that's a whole teaching and learning in itself.
Yes.
I think that, yeah, I think you're so right on about that. And even if we don't ask, we're still transmitting on some level, right? So how do we get our needs met? How do we, or how do we find the balance, or how do we start to take notice of what someone else needs, and um, not take it personally, like because they need that and we're not getting this, that it's a thing. Like, how do we come together and make it fluid?
I was thinking, you asked me, what's my love language, and I realized that one of them is that I think affirmations, or whatever that particular one is one that speaks to me.
I think
Right?
I think yours is physical touch too.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, I think definitely affirmations.
But yeah, that one makes sense too.
Yeah, well, that's like when we did that thing with Lexi, or Alexi, yeah, and we did a workshop with someone, and they asked basically, what is it that you would like to hear to
Mm-hmm.
know that everything's good, or whatever, everything's right. And yours was, good job, Gil. That's what you wanted to hear. I don't remember what mine was, but I know what yours is. But it's true, and you probably don't remember what mine is either, which makes my love language really sad. But it's
Do
okay.
you have to tell everything?
I,
Is it required?
today is a stream of consciousness day. Sorry, you got to deal with it.
Oh,
Yeah. So, but all of that is super important. So, okay. So going back to that, and to your question, Shay, how do we move into how do we transmit that?
transmit like what we want from others,
What
what
we what we need, what um
so we
yeah.
have to have it before we can transmit it, which was kind of what Shay said. We have
But
to
but
know
I think
ourselves.
but I think it's also, and we've talked about this before, and I think this is one of the most important things in life. And it's like the key to, you know, world peace and diversity and inclusion. I think we have to get curious. We
Uh-huh.
have to come from that curious perspective and really want to know, not inquire about our partners, and take notice of what they need as well.
So Sherry says, my love languages are affection and words of affirmation. But heck, I like gifts too. At the end of the day, material things don't mean as much to me. But doing things, service, is like third on my list. That's from being a really independent person. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting because service was like down on my list too. And I was like, really? But I think that's because we live in this land of service, and maybe we're interpreting it a little bit different. All
Well,
right.
I know that I stole your heart with a few telephone lines.
Well, you stole my heart with gifts, but it's not because material. No, I mean you didn't steal my heart with that, but you sealed the deal. It's not because of the gift, because it was the thought behind the gift,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
so like this is a longer story, but when Gil and I were first meeting and before we met, and he put together this whole package with these little gifts that each had meaning to our relationship. And I mean, there were things like stationery and a telephone line, a cell phone thing, and but they were gel pens that smelled good. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, thank God I got the gel pens. It was because it was the thought behind them,
Right.
and that you had taken the time. So for me, somehow that transmits that if someone really gives me a gift from the heart, they're really taking the time to embody who I am and what I am, and celebrate that on some level.
Yeah.
It's not the merchandising. And
Right.
you can see there's no rings on my finger. I'm just kidding. Sorry. I actually lost my wedding ring. He bought
We're,
me one. It's
we,
not.
we are very whatever in terms of our rings. We've never done well with them.
Yeah.
Either one of us.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, see, right? Gel pens and markers, good gifts. They're universal appeal. So Sherry said that already. We said that. So yeah, so I think that's the key. One of the keys. I think one of the keys is getting and staying, remaining curious in your relationship, right? Right?
Yes. Remaining curious. Absolutely. And I was just sitting here thinking about, decoding the divine and realizing that we're always if we're paying attention, we are always in that process of understanding better, of decoding whatever it is before us. We're always seeing the bigger picture.
Right.
And
And
I
you know
think
what?
that's the key.
You know what just popped into my mind?
Hmm.
Oh, and I wish we had that here. Maybe our producer can find it. But the video I showed you, the short Brene Brown video on
Oh
marriage,
yeah.
because she talks about marriage, and it's like super short. I mean, like 2 minutes, and she's basically what she says in the beginning is like, that people talk about marriage as a 50-50 proposition. It's not a 50-50 proposition. It's that her and her partner, help me out, Gail, her and her partner, they'll come in on days and they'll be like, I got 40% today. I got 40%. I don't have more than that. And her partner will be like, don't worry, I got you covered. I got 60%. We can, do this. Or he'll be like, I got 30%. So they both know where they're playing from, right? And
Yeah.
and they both then go ahead.
Well, and expressing that honestly up front, then they can work with, then they can decide, whether one person's going to consciously pick up slack and just know that's just what needs to happen, and they're not mad about it, or if they're both in that place of feeling like they don't have enough, then they figure out how to be more gentle and maybe how to shift things around so they can let go of some of their responsibilities somehow.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to what I would say is the second part is where, like, in a relationship, I think you have to really listen to what your partner's saying, and then you have to kind of like aim for empathy together,
Mhm.
because we're not all going to show up in the same way at the same time,
But that's the beauty of the dance, right?
Right.
So I wanted to mention what Sherry said. That's what my mom always said. My mother always said, it's the thought. Yeah, that worked when I was younger. However, now I would like them to think a little deeper into who I am. That's paying attention and being present with the person. And yes, and I think Sherry, that again technically is the thought. Is someone taking the time enough to look into it deeper, whatever it is, whether it's, I know she really wants a gold chain, or um, I know that she's processing something that happened 20 years ago, and I'm gonna just give her a hug. I mean, but I understand it. I'm going deeper to what's really needed. Either way, what do you think? Am I off?
No, I think you're totally right. I'm just
Okay, producer, can you write that down too? She thinks I'm totally right. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, I think that yeah, I mean I think so. I think what's really important too in a relationship and switching is then taking that empathy thing a little bit further, and getting on the same team,
Hmm.
is really understanding that piece of the compassion, that piece of the puzzle that allows us to not take it personally, and to really be able to let it go.
Okay,
On
so what struck me when you said that, being on the same team, and I didn't grow up as a big team player of any kind of sports or anything, but any sport that I can think of that has a team, and reality, the way I see teams now, everybody has their unique things that they're doing. So when we say I'm on your team, doesn't mean I am totally exactly in line with what you're doing and it always looks like it's totally working together, because sometimes I'm running across the field the other way because I see something that needs to be done over here, and that kind of idea, that even when we're on the same, if we're not trusting we're on the same team, we can find all kinds of times when it appears that we're not working together. Does that make sense? Are you still with us? Did we lose you?
Are we out?
Oh, I'm here and you are frozen. There you are. Okay.
We're trusting that we have the same intention.
Right.
Look,
And the same goal, if you will.
Cynthia's on our team.
Yay.
Thank you all for being on our team.
And
But
thank you, Cynthia, for noting that you celebrate our love. That was very sweet.
aw. But yeah, but I mean, that's like when we have the conversations, Gil, in the middle, like when you're having that bad day, when you're at that 10 or 20 or 30%, and you're taking it out on me, you're not remembering to just go, oh, I've got 10 today, so cut me some slack. When you're like, and you're in it, that's why it's trusting, and being able to remind somebody we're on the same team. We want the same thing. I get that you're not able to give it right now, but I'm able to hold that vision for you, and know that each other is doing that. Sherry says it's like the vacuum cleaner that was given as a gift. Was it given because the house needed a vacuum and that would make her life easier, or that she really likes cleaning and wanted a vacuum? I know I'm being, but y'all are moving quickly.
I'm
I'm
behind.
behind. I know I'm behind. Yeah. No, no, I get it. I get it. No, that we knew that, and you're absolutely right, Sherry. There was the intention was the sweetest thing ever. I mean, it was almost. I mean, and he gave it to me and our sister, and I was like, both of us were like, oh, thanks. Because we knew how important it was to him, and we knew that he had thought about it. We knew that he was making a big effort to do something big. And so we got the intention. We totally got the intention, but it's the equivalent to, like, with Gil, if I give Gil tickets to go to the Dodger game with me, he could care less. But I am so excited to share that evening with him. I mean, that's like my joy, my passion, my whatever. For Gil, it was he'd found the best deal on an appliance and he got a really good vacuum cleaner. We didn't have to have an old vacuum cleaner because he's a technical vacuum cleaner kind of guy, So yeah, he's a tool man. And so it was like deep thought had gone into this, and we knew that. And so, yeah, it's always the intention from where we're coming, right?
Right.
And we don't always remember that. So this topic is going to the ultimate last minute. So there's a lot to say here, and I know, it's very true.
Thank you. Can you send me that book?
I know that we could go on with this, and I think we will explore love languages in the future. So let's keep this conversation up. But for the most part, I would just say those are my three things. If to decode a person in a relationship, get curious, ask questions, don't assume, and really just move into that place where you can allow the other person to share what they need and who they are and where they're coming from, right?
I think for me the all of that's correct. And if there's someplace I'm going to assume that whatever's going on is coming from their best place.
Yes.
I mean, I have to assume that, lest I go very sideways with how I feel.
Yeah. It's not personal. It's not personal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here with us. Did I cut you off? Did you want to say something else?
I'm good.
It is personal to us that you're here.
Yes.
We love each and every one of you individually and as a collective. And we're so excited for all of you who are watching for the first time and tuning in. Please keep tuning in. Tell your friends. And I think there's nothing left to do but rock the love, y'all. So let's do it.
Come back and join us next week, every week on Wednesday.
Right here on New Thought Media Network.